Good morning. Hi, my name is Robert Solé. I'm a professor at the Università della Svizzera Italiana. It's a university in Italian-speaking Switzerland. We have a couple of native Italian speakers presenting today, and to them I'd like to start by apologizing for my pronunciation of the university. I'm sorry about that. But today I'm serving as program chair for P4 Developer Day, and I'm very excited and happy to welcome you here. We have a great event lined up for you all today. And before starting, though, I'd like to take a few minutes to reflect on the state of P4 and the state of the P4 community. So one thing that really strikes me is how quickly and how broadly adopted P4 has become. We've seen inroads in industry, academics, and in the open source community. In industry, there's a number of hardware targets now available that are capable of supporting P4. And there's new products and new deployments announced every week. In academia, we're seeing P4 used in the classroom to start teaching fundamental networking concepts with hands-on exercises. And at top research conferences, we're seeing a number of papers and tutorials published around P4, SIGCOMM and PLDI. And then, of course, in the open source community, there's very active contributions from multiple organizations, and there's growing collection of tools and resources that have become publicly available. Today's event is sponsored by P4.org, which is an open organization. And since last year at this time, there's been a 40% increase in the number of member organizations attending. And these member organizations come from across the spectrum of communities. We see operators, end users, systems, different hardware targets, different solutions in services, and from academia and research institutions as well. At today's event, there's more than 100 of you enrolled to learn how to program in P4, and you come from more than 48 different organizations spread across academia and industry, and here's a list of some of them. Okay, so about 6 months ago, June, we had the last P4 Developer Day, and at that point, we introduced P4.16. Today, we're very happy to introduce new material on P4 runtime. So P4 runtime, in the past, we've really focused these events on concentrating on data plane programming aspects of P4. We've shied away or not talked as much about the control plane side of P4, and today we're going to have a nice session on that. P4 runtime is a silicon-independent, protocol-independent API, and we're going to see a demo of P4 runtime integrated with an open network operating system. To give you a rough outline of the agenda, next we're going to have an introduction to P4 by Stephen Ibanez from Stanford University. Then we're going to have, as I already mentioned, the P4 runtime presentation from Carmelo Cascone and Brian O'Connor from ONF. Monitoring and debugging session is going to be taught by Mina Tamasabi from Princeton University. And then we're going to have a discussion of advanced data structures from Samar Abdi at Google. So one interesting thing to mention here is, again, the breadth of contributions that are presented today, each of these coming from different organizations, none of them Barefoot networks. So some brief announcements. You'll, of course, all need wireless connections. If you haven't noticed, on the back of your name badge are instructions for how to connect to the wireless network. There's food and beverages served throughout the day. Those will be in the back in the courtyard, and you can stand there to eat, or there's tables in the open area where if you'd like to sit down. All videos all the presentations today are being recorded, and the videos will be posted online at p4.org in the coming weeks. Software, I already mentioned this a few times. If any of you need a copy of the virtual machine to run the exercises, we have USB sticks available with the images. There's TAs floating around with the USB sticks. Does anyone need software? Good. Okay, and last, if you need help at any point throughout the day, we have a set of students that have volunteered to help you through the exercises. Could these TAs raise your hand or stand up? If you need help, look for one of these guys. They're all expert P4 programmers. They can help you with the problems. They help put together the exercises. So if you need help, just raise your hand. They'll come over and help you out. Okay. At the end of the day, we're going to have a panel discussion from different experts from various fields. We have Anurag from Barefoot Networks, Mario Baldi, Cisco, Anirudh from NYU, and Dejan Vicinik from Western Digital. The way that we're going to do something, I think, slightly different for this panel discussion, we'd like to make this sort of an open conversation. So what we've done is we've set up a live interactive QA platform for our panel. There's a website here, pigeonhole.at. The event passcode is P4D2. If you go to this URL, you'll be able to enter a question. You need to provide your username and your name and affiliation, but you don't need to create any sort of account. You can ask a question anytime throughout the day, and you can also vote on questions. So you'll see a little up arrow. If you click on that, you can upvote the question, and the panel is going to answer these questions in order of popularity. So this gives you a chance to interact and ask questions from these experts. Okay, today you're all going to become experts in P4 development, and then afterwards you're probably going to ask, how can I get more involved? Well, there's a few different ways to join the P4 community. One is you can join p4.org. It's free and it's open to everyone. We'd encourage you to make open source contributions in terms of software and tools. And then, of course, there's a number of P4 working groups where you can actively shape the future of P4. And I'd like to take some time to briefly discuss the activities that they're doing. So first is the oldest working group, Language Working Group. It's chaired by Gordon Brebner at Xilinx and Nate Foster from Cornell. Their goal is to define the P4 language specification and manage the evolution of the language. So in May, they released the P4 language specification. They're continuously working on new language features and planning for the next version of P4. The Architecture Working Group is chaired by Andy Fingerhut from Cisco and Kaylin Cascaville from Barefoot Networks. Their goal is to provide specification for the portable switch architecture. They've released, actually I think today they've released this, a draft of the PFA specification. So go and look for that. Your comments are welcome. They're developing open source reference implementations and contributing reference code and building blocks. The API working group is chaired by Lorenzo Viciano and Antonin Bass from Barefoot Networks. They define standard APIs that enable silicon independence. They first started meeting in July. They've already prepared a candidate P4 runtime API, which we'll be talking about today in today's presentation. And finally, the most recent working group is the Applications Working Group. This is chaired by Mukesh Hira from VMware and J.K. Lee from Barefoot Networks. It's focused on novel forwarding plane applications enabled by P4. So their very first meeting is going to be next week on Monday here at Stanford University. I'd encourage you, if you're interested, to attend the meeting. Their main project right now is working on a telemetry report format specification, but they're also providing specifications for standard applications. And actually, JK is here with us today. He's in the back. Actually, he's outside. So if you'd like to talk more about Applications Working Group, I'd encourage you to talk to him, grab him for a second, and talk about how you can help out. Okay, today wouldn't have been possible without the contributions from a number of different people. First, of course, we have all of our instructors from today, and then our panelists that we'll see at the end of the day. I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors, AT&T, Barefoot Networks, Cisco, and Google. And then, of course, all the teaching assistants, Sean Choi, Kuo Fang, Theo Jepson, Praveen Kumar, and Robert McDavid. And then, of course, the event organizers, Rachel Everman, Nate Foster, Prem Janalagada, Nick McEwen, and Sadef Oksana deserves a special, extra strong thanks for providing all the logistics for today. That's it for my opening remarks. For the first session, we're going to have the Introduction to P4 Programming from Stephen Ibanez, who is a PhD student at Stanford University.